Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm being very intently stared at by the dog behind me. You're right, there you go, she's gone to bed. I have finally succumbed to TikTok books. So if any of you have watched my most recent vlog, I'm currently reading V.E. Schwab, don't know, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which I am, about 3/4 of the way through, and I'm slightly obsessed with it. And I want to not work and read, but that's actually not possible because I do have a 9-to-5 job that does pay my bills. I'm also dog sitting, which is taking up a large proportion of my time. So I thought I'd pick up some more TikTok famous books. Here we are. Also, can we just talk about the fact that Amazon's actually put this in a logical sized parcel? What we have here is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. You right, Win? It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yards, and A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Between these four and this one, we're reading TikTok books, and we're reading them hard. I actually couldn't tell you how much in a week I read. It's a lot considering I'm on 29 books so far this year, and it is the 22nd of April, so I read quite a lot. But what I'm going to do this week is work my way through these TikTok books. I'm going to time how much I actually read in a week, and we will work our way through these TikTok books. So the first one being this. I need to go and have dinner because I filmed this clip in a couple of minutes I have spare. So I will probably read this after dinner and I will give you a review on this ASAP. But let's go eat. Obsessed does not quite put into words how I feel about this book. So I put the bookmark in where I was before I started reading. I'm about 1 hour and 10 minutes into reading for this evening. It is 9:15. Oh, it was so good. God, this dog is possibly the neediest dog in the whole wide world. Yes, I can see you. Truly obsessed, like probably one of the cleverest, most interesting books I think I've read in a really long time. So for those of you who don't, oh my god, dog, sit still. For those of you who don't know the plot of this book, effectively it's about a woman called Addie LaRue who was sworn to be married back in, like, I think it's 1714 or is it 1614? I can't remember. A while ago. She was like sworn to be married to someone by her parents. She didn't win that life. She made a deal with the devil to be free and to be able to live as many lives as she wanted. And in the process, she has given away her soul. And the way that like it works is the fact that no one can remember her. So the second people like go away and come back, they're like, she's forgotten. And it just creates such an interesting plot line. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like next level obsessed with this book. Like next level. I'm not sure how the book is gonna top it, but the book is gonna have to try. So yeah, this is, I would say for me, like a 4.5, 5-star read. Like honestly, so good. So these are my next 4 books, which I obviously introduced you to earlier in this video. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you've not watched any of my videos before, Alex and I have this very weird tradition because I don't tend to read on feeling or like with any real theory behind what my next book is. I just pick up a book and read it. That I give Alex the number of books that are left on the bookshelf and he gives me the number that I have to read. So I gave him the number between 1 and 4 and he chose book number 1, which means this is my next book. So this is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I have to say I don't know a huge amount about this book. I honestly, because I don't watch TikTok, some of these books I've just seen a lot on YouTube and Instagram. This book I found on a roundup website of like all the best TikTok famous books, and so I thought I would just give it a go. So this is the blurb. The case is closed. 5 years ago, schoolgirl Andy Bell was murdered by Sal Singh. The police knew he did it. Everyone in town knows he did it. But having grown up in the same small town that was consumed by the murder, Pippa Fitz Amobi isn't so sure. When she chooses the case as the topic for her final year project, she starts to uncover secrets that someone in the town desperately wants to stay hidden. And if the real killer is still out there, how far will they go to keep Pip from the truth? I have a suspicion this might be like verging on YA. I have to say I haven't read any YA novels for like 10 years. So it'll be interesting if it is. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a #1 New York Times bestseller, which to be honest, I think all of these books say that on there, and I think most books I've ever read say that on there. It was on basically every list of TikTok recommended books I could ever find. So I thought I would give it a go. It's a little bit different. I'm probably going to go sit on the sofa for a bit with little Missy down here and read some more. So let's see how far I get with the next book. So I started this last night and I'm now on, there's no page numbers to half of this book. It's really weird. We're at 57, I think. So far so good. I have to say I'm not hugely invested in anything yet, which does make sense considering I'm on a very small portion of the way through the book, but I'm going to read this on my commute. It is interesting that it's got like third person, I think it is. Third person? Yeah, third person prose. And then in the middle it's got these like transcripts, which is part of like the project she's working on. So it's quite interesting. I'd have to say the transcript text is quite small. So if you struggle with small text, it's quite a hard book to read. And then these bits, the text is absolutely huge. So I feel like there's some spacing issues. But other than that, enjoying it so far. Hi! So it is later in the evening, it is 9:15, and I wanted to check in because we've hit the 2-hour mark. So it is Tuesday evening, and so far this week, so yesterday and today, I've read for 2 hours. Can't work out if that's like more or less than I expected. I didn't actually read on my commute home because Missy here was being quite stressed and I didn't want to like take my attention away from her while she was having like a little stressy moment on the train. So I didn't read on my commute home, but I did read on my commute out, and then I've just sat on the sofa and read for about half an hour. I've just hit part 2, which is why I've stopped, but I'm on page 109. So I read about 100 pages of the end of my previous book and about 100 pages of this book. So we're about 200 pages in all. I'm actually really enjoying it. It's giving like slightly older YA, like it's giving like the kind of book you'd read at sort of like 18, you know? It's a very easy read. You can kind of breeze through it with like next to no effort whatsoever. I am enjoying it in the fact that there's a bit of a thriller element to it, which we all know I love. I love a thriller, detective, or sci-fi fantasy style book. They're like my 3 bread and butters. I've delved and like trialed a little bit of romance, and I've read one romance book that I loved and a couple that I was a bit on the fence about, but to me a thriller is like icing on the cake. And there's a little bit of a thriller aspect to it because she just received a note that says stop digging. So who knows where that's come from and who knows exactly what that means. But yeah, it's interesting. It's like a thriller meets a detective, but she's not a detective, she's a student, and she's like trying to work out what happened to this student in her class who was murdered. And here's the thing, right? I honestly don't think it's as good as the previous book. I think it would take a lot to beat that previous book. I was slightly obsessed with it. So I don't think it's as good as that, but I do think it's a good book. So I'm currently this far through. As I said, I've just hit part 2. So I'm obviously going to keep reading. I might even read in this room because she's quite comfortable and I can talk a little bit more freely as Alex is watching TV in that room. But honestly, let me just show you. I know this is a book about reading and not a book about the dog, but she's become my personality. And I mean, look at her. Hi, little ball. As I said, not the purpose of the video. I don't really have anything else I need to like do or achieve this evening. So I'm out tomorrow and Thursday night at the theatre. So I'm seeing Bonnie and Clyde on tour in Woking tomorrow. And I'm at a Wicked Gala night on Thursday. Yeah, I've got 2 work events this week. So it does mean it'll be a little bit less reading tomorrow and Thursday, but then I've got a pretty chill Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I do think it's quite an interesting exercise to see how much I am reading on a weekly basis. I'm going to kickstart the timer again and keep reading. So here we go. So I'm currently on page, what did I say I was on? 110. So let's keep going and see where I end up. They've just been camping, which was terrifying. So we're now 2 hours and 30 minutes into the timer of the week. I'm on page 171. It's getting really interesting. There's some like, I forget what it's like to be a teenager. So all these characters are like between the age of like 16 and like 20. And I forget how like messy life was at that age. Like sixth form in university, like no one had their shit together. Absolutely no one. And I've kind of forgot what it was like, which is why it's sort of giving YA vibes. I think it's less the writing and just more kind of the age of the characters. Yeah, I mean, shit's hit the fan. Excuse my French, but it really has. She's finding out about the past of the girl that was murdered and finding out things that they did that were controversial for many reasons. And like, there's about 20 people on her suspect list. I do think it's quite, she as a character is starting to slightly annoy me. She's given like goody two shoes who also doesn't know when to say no and when to stop. So she's given me like kind of annoying, but I mean, I feel like you kind of need that character trait for this story to like work. I'm that far through the book, which is probably about what, a third of the way through. I'm enjoying it. So it is now 22 past 9. As I said, I've been reading for 2 hours and 34 minutes so far this week. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop for a minute, go make a cup of tea, maybe go get a snack. We made some cookies on Sunday. When I say we, I made some cookies on Sunday. So I might go get a cup of tea and a cookie and potentially move back into the other room so that Winnie, who is zonked out on the bed behind me, is with Alex as well. So tomorrow, I think I've mentioned this, tomorrow I'm going to work without Winnie and leaving Winnie with Alex. And she's very much attached to me because I work with B, who owns her. So Winnie has seen me like every day since B got her, which was what, like 6 months ago. So she's already got an attachment to me and not an attachment for Alex because Alex doesn't work with me. So she will follow me into whatever room I'm in, but not so much follow Alex. And tomorrow, because I'm going to Woking, she's staying here. So I think I might move into the other room so she gets kind of familiarity with him as always. But yeah, so far so good. Gonna make a cup of tea, get a snack, and then probably curl up on the sofa and read for the next half an hour. Alright, I'm stopping the timer. Ready? So we're at 2 hours, 51 minutes and 38 seconds. Here's my book. It's about how far I am through. So I'm on page 209. I mean, the girl's now getting into blackmail, which I feel like, let me just go into a really flattering angle. The girl's getting into blackmail, which for this is like is it EPQ or something? What are these projects called that you do at sixth form? I don't do one, so. EPQ, yeah. She's doing an EPQ, and as part of her EPQ, she's now blackmailing people. Like, what the hell? But yeah, I'm actually quite enjoying it. I'm probably somewhere between a third and a half. I'm getting close to halfway through the book. Enjoying it, same as before. She's still kind of annoying, but the plot's interesting and I'm engaged. So, I'm going to call it a day for the night. Alex has just taken Winnie out for a quick walk before we go to bed. I might read a little bit before I go to bed, depends what mood Alex is in when he gets back. And then I will check in with you guys in the morning. I've just got back, not a huge amount of movement. Where's it gone? We're now at 3 hours and 20 minutes. So I probably were about 25 minutes on my commute this morning. And now this far through, page, I got to like a really logical stop, here it is. Page, there are no page numbers, great. Page 282. So yeah, I mean, I'm still feeling very similar about this book, but I think I'll probably finish this, what, tomorrow? Maybe the day after? Oh, I've made it to Friday. I'm so relieved. My phone is on charge, so the timer I'm pretty sure is on 3 hours 30 minutes. I think it's 3.5 hours. If not, it's somewhere relatively close to there. I'm now this far through this book. I didn't read much at all yesterday. I just read on my commute in, and then I went to Wicked in the evening, so I got home very late. It was a celebration of the fact that as of yesterday's performance, it became the 10th longest running show in the West End ever. And so it was like a party and it went on quite late. So I didn't read at all yesterday after my morning commute, but I'm about to get in the bath, and I normally watch YouTube or a film or something in the bath, but I think I'm gonna sit, or lay, I probably should say, and that rhymes, and hopefully finish off this book. So I'm currently on page 345. Yeah, this is where I am. I'm gonna jump into the bath, continue reading. I have not had a bath yet with Winnie, so Winnie is on the bed beside me, just like now tucked up in a little ball. She follows me everywhere, like even if I go to the loo, she sits next to me. So I don't know what she's gonna do when I'm in the bath, but we will work that out. So yeah, I'm gonna go read and bathe. I had the bath, I took Winnie out for a walk, but before I went, I finished the book. Let me just go get the timer. So the timer is on 4 hours and 13 minutes. I have now finished this, which was The Good Girl's Guide to Murder. It's one of those books where could not tell you who it was, and I really actually enjoyed the twist at the end. I actually think it was like really clever and quite well done. The flash forward of, I think it's 3 months at the end, where you like hear about the character, didn't care, kind of didn't really want to read it. I was so not invested in the main character, but I was so invested in the plot the main character was in. That's kind of my like vibe about this book. So I enjoyed it, not as much as this one, but I did enjoy it. And now that's another book finished. So we've got to pick another one. A friend of mine said that Colleen Hoover is not the nicest author, shall we say. She's apparently involved in some controversies, which I know absolutely nothing about. So if her presence here upsets you, I'm sorry. I honestly had absolutely no idea, and I still don't know if I fully do. I've said to Alex 1, 2 or 3, and he said 2, which means we're reading Sarah J. Maas, A Court of Thorn and Roses. This kind of started this whole video. I mean, kind of this did because I was reading this first, but like I have put this in my Amazon cart or picked it up in the bookshop, or like there are so many times I've like been this close to buying this book, and then I bought this one because it didn't feel quite so predictable and like everyone's reading it. So I picked up this one so that it was like a TikTok book, but not like literally everyone and their mother is reading it kind of book. And I thoroughly enjoyed this, which is where all these other books have come from. And you can't read TikTok famous books without reading something by Sarah J. Maas. So I decided to go with this series because as far as I'm aware it's finished. As in like they're all out. Could be wrong, don't really know a huge amount about this author or story or anything, but it does sound like my kind of thing. I love kind of like fantasy, sci-fi style books. This is the blurb, albeit I'm sure 95% of you who are watching this video know this book, but don't know how you pronounce her name. I'm gonna go Feyre? F-E-Y-R-E. Feyre? Let's go Feyre. So Feyre is a huntress. The skin of a wolf would bring enough gold to feed her sisters for a month, but the life of a magical creature comes at a steep price. Feyre has killed the wrong wolf. Taken prisoner by a high Fey lord, Feyre learns that her masked captor is hiding even more than his piercing gaze suggests. But as Feyre's feeling for Tamlin begin to burn through every warning she's heard about his kind, a shadow is falling across the land. And if Feyre cannot fight it, she will lose everything. Yeah, I've heard so much about this book. I somehow managed to stay away from like all spoilers, which I think is in some ways quite impressive. It is 5:30, it is now the weekend. I'm gonna sit in the other room, probably, potentially in here. Haven't quite worked out where I'm gonna sit. Maybe even on the balcony. I'm gonna sit somewhere and start reading this book. I think there are, don't know why I'm gonna say think, because I know there are There are 419 pages. I'm obviously starting from page 1. So let's give this a read. Oh my god, look at her, she's so cute. Oh, I've just had a nap. A nap that lasted for like 2.5 hours, and now it's 8 o'clock and Alex is actually making some dinner. I'm a little bit disorientated, but I did read for, I don't know how long that's been since we last spoke, but we're like, what, 40 minutes before I literally zonked out. I got to page 66. I don't think I'm going to read too much more today just because I'm so tired. I think I will have dinner and probably just like go straight to bed. So it's now Saturday. The weather is a little bit pants. I did a little bit of reading yesterday evening, so I'm now at page 91. Let's get the timer up. So yeah, we're at 5 hours and 5 minutes. I'm gonna sit here and read some more of this book. Got a little Winnie next to me. Aww. It is quite a bit later. It is 10 to 11. Don't know when I actually last spoke to you, but we're now at 6 hours and 45 minutes, which, to be honest, I was expecting about an hour a day. So it's not like a million miles off what I expect, but obviously now we're at the weekend, which is where I tend to read the most. So we shall see. But I've made some progress with this book. So I am now on page 290, which is about 2/3 of the way through, give or take. It's actually really good. I can see why people love this book. I do still think I preferred this one, but I can see where it's come from. The sex scenes are quite graphic and I wasn't really expecting it. It was quite kind of like action based is not the right word, but it was quite like a typical fantasy style book, and I was like, you know, wishing through it, and then it gets to what I assume will be the first of, I guess, kind of many of these scenes, and you know, it just like takes you by surprise, and I was like, okay, sure. And then it hasn't happened since. So yeah, the main character, the love interest between the main character and the person that she loves kind of came out of nowhere. I have to say, I didn't really see it coming. I thought it would be with she's under the bed. I was kind of more expecting it to be her and the other male kind of character. So I don't know if that's going to form like a love triangle at some point, but yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's good. I feel like I went in with such high expectations. It's quite hard to like hit them. But I mean, I've read 2/3 of the book in basically one morning, so I clearly am really enjoying it. But we're going to take a little break. So 1, we can take Winnie out for a walk, and 2, just because a break from reading every so often is helpful. But yeah, we're now at nearly 7 hours. So yeah, I mean, I have to say I have really, really enjoyed these books. I have enjoyed the fact that they're a little bit more kind of level playing field. They're all actually pretty good books, while I feel like quite often I'll read a good book and then a bit of a naff book and then a good book and a naff book, because I kind of just pick them up randomly from charity shops. But I feel like these ones have got like a level of, they're popular because, you know, they're popular. So yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm gonna go out for a walk and I will chat to you guys later. So far so good. I finished it. I actually finished it. It is 2:30 and I finished it a lot earlier than I thought I would. I'm now on 7 hours, 43 minutes and 47 seconds. I have to say, I enjoyed it more the more I read it. The further I got through the story and the less they were trying to build the world and explain what was going on, the more I enjoyed it, which I think is kind of like quite typical of kind of fantasy style novels. But yeah, have to say I was a big fan. I actually really, really enjoyed this. I do now want to read the rest of the book. You can tell it's designed so the book is quite satisfying in its own right, but there's still clearly a story that is like still to unfold. And we are 3 books in. So I've got 2 books left, and I asked Alex 1 or 2, but then they're like, I could go 1-2 or 1-2, you know? So I'm gonna go with whichever one I ordered first, because then that's one, right? I ordered It Ends With Us before I ordered Fourth Wing. So this is the next book I'm gonna read. I am gonna look up why Colleen Hoover, when I said I bought this book, someone in the office was like, there's nothing major online. Anyway, so this is what I'm going to read. I'm quite excited because as much as I was interested to read this, I'm quite enjoying that this is a different type of book. So here's the blurb. It's actually quite long, but sometimes the one who loves you is the one who hurts you the most. Lily hasn't always had it easy, but that's never stopped her from working hard for the life she wants. She's come a long way from the small town in Maine where she grew up. She graduated from college, moved to Boston, and started her own business. So when she feels a spark with a gorgeous neurosurgeon named Ryle Kincaid, everything in Lily's life suddenly seems almost too good to be true. Ryle is assertive, stubborn, and maybe a little bit arrogant. He's also sensitive, brilliant, and has a total soft spot for Lily. But Ryle's complete aversion to relationships is disturbing. As questions about her new relationship overwhelm her, so do thoughts of Atlas Corrigan, her first love and a link to the past she left behind. He was her kindred spirit, her protector. When Atlas suddenly reappears, everything Lily has built with Ryle is threatened. With this bold and deeply personal novel, Colleen Hoover delivers a heart-wrenching story that breaks exciting new ground for her as a writer. It Ends With Us is an unforgettable tale of love that comes at the ultimate price. A very different book to the book I just read. I mean, the text is huge and it's only 370 pages, so should be a relatively quick read, but yeah, I'm excited. I mean, yeah, 3 books in, 4th book, let's go. It's literally supposed to be bright and sunny and spring, and it's dark grey, 10 degrees. And all the internal lights are on because it's so dark outside. So, welcome to Sunday. It is the last day of this vlog. I am on 9 hours and 4 minutes. So I did a bit more reading yesterday. I'm now nearly halfway through the book. I'm on page 168. It's giving like nice romance. You know, it's a nice, easy book to read. I don't necessarily think it probably deserves some of the hype it is getting so far. I'm enjoying it, don't get me wrong. It's a nice book, it's a nice story, 2 main love interests. It was like it was long for them because it was like over the span of a while, but it was short for us in terms of like them meeting to them dating and falling in love and yada yada. And now there's a bit of like conflict. So it's following quite a typical plot line, I feel, for a romance novel. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the next half of the book, but at the moment it's relatively predictable. There's currently tea brewing in the background. Alex has taken Winnie out for a morning walk and it is 8 o'clock in the morning. So I am gonna go and finish the cups of tea and whatnot. And then I think it will be a similar day to what it was yesterday, which is a fair chunk of reading, a little bit of dog walking. I mean, the weather today is worse than yesterday. So how we're gonna tire her out today, I don't know, but wish us luck. Yeah, let's see how far further through this book I can get. That book was heavy. It started out as like a really wholesome love story and wow, did it take a turn. Okay. I feel like I had to go on a walk to emotionally get over that book. The book I just finished was It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. It starts out as like a really wholesome, sickly, wasn't really in the mood for it love story, and then it gets quite dark. And honestly, towards the end of it, as you will have seen, I was bawling my eyes out. It actually got really, really good. I felt like the first half of it, I was like, and the second half of it cuts deep. Like, whew. So yeah, I finished It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, which, if you're gonna read it, get emotionally prepped for the second half of it. I'm 10 hours and 19 minutes in on the timer for this week, and we only have one book left from my original lineup, so it's obviously gonna be this one. This is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, which is a long old book with quite small text, so this one's gonna take me a while, which is probably quite good that it's last. So I don't really know much about this book. I know it's fantasy, but that's about it. So let's go. Friends, enemies, lovers, everyone has an agenda. Violet Sorrengail expected to live a quiet life surrounded by books until she was forced onto the world's deadliest training ground. Now she must fight to join the army's elite, dragon riders. But dragons don't choose fragile riders, they incinerate them. And when your body breaks as easily as Violet's does, death is only a heartbeat away. Every night could be your last. Many would kill Violet to better their own chances of success. The rest would kill her simply because of her last name, including the ruthless Zadin Riorson, her family's greatest enemy. With the odds stacked against her, Violet must use every edge her wits can give her just to see the next sunrise, because once you enter Basgate War College, there are only two ways out: graduate or die. The last book of this video that I'm gonna read probably later, but I have also ordered some books off of Amazon. Half of them still haven't got here, so there'll be a chunk of them arriving later today, and I think I ordered one book twice, so I need to return that. You know that I loved this book, right? I thought it was great. And the third one, or the fourth one, or the fifth one, if you include this one, is still on transit, and then I accidentally bought this book twice. So I need to return it because I don't need two of the same books, but I have committed. I have committed to the full series. I'm not going to read this during this vlog, but they are some chunky books, apart from this one, which is absolutely tiny, but that will be for another time. So I'm going to leave those there, and I need to return this one, but I will do that later. So yeah, I am on to my fifth book of the week. I mean, I don't feel like I normally read quite this much. I feel like I probably normally average about 7 or 8 hours in a week rather than 10, so this does feel a little bit more extreme than most weeks, but I thoroughly enjoyed the books that I've read so far this vlog, and now we're on to the fifth and final book. So I love dragons, I love fantasy, as you can tell. I think there's a love story in here somewhere. Today is now a Monday morning, and we are finishing off and wrapping up this video. It's actually a delightful day today. I'm slightly squinting because it's really, really bright in this room. So last week I read for 10 hours and 46 minutes, 3 seconds and 93 milliseconds, if we're gonna get really specific. So just pick up the books. These are the 4 books that I finished, and then this book I'm like part of the way through. I kind of lost steam a little bit with reading on Sunday afternoon, but yeah, I managed to at least read or start all the books that I aim to read at the beginning of the week. I'm not going to go into too much detail about each book because I feel like I kind of reviewed them as I went, but as I said, this Addie LaRue book was like top tier, truly obsessed, such a like heartwarming, I don't know if you can construction work, I don't know what's going on, such a heartwarming, beautiful, well written, well thought out story. Absolutely adored this, highly recommend. If you're in the market for it's like somewhere between a real life fantasy to a romantasy style book, you will absolutely adore this. And then my next favourite book was A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J Maas, which I feel like if you haven't heard about this book, don't know what's going on. I'm not even on TikTok, and even I knew about this book. So yeah, this was effectively about a girl who is trying to like keep her family alive, so she's out hunting. She kills a wolf, the wolf ends up being a fae, and then, are they called faes? Yeah, faes. And then a fae high lord kind of takes her captive as like, kind of like your life for his. And yeah, and it kind of goes from there. Romantasy. There are some like real graphic love scenes in here, so just brace yourself, but otherwise I actually really enjoyed this. I think this was slightly, I don't know if it's because obviously the story starts and finishes in one book. I feel like this was a slightly better thought out story, but I did really enjoy A Court of Thorns and Roses. Then It Ends With Us was my next favourite book. This, for the first half, I was so like uninterested, and then the second half just like punches you right in the heart. It was so sad. Like, it was honestly so sad. Obviously, you've watched this vlog to this point, but I was in tears by the end of this book. There aren't many stories I've read in kind of book form that like make me cry, and this was one of them. It's effectively about a daughter of an abusive couple who grows up. She meets this guy, they fall in love, but she's got this like childhood first love that she's kind of like still kind of in love with. So she meets this other guy, they fall in love, they get kind of together, etc. And then this other guy's kind of there as well. And I thought that's what the kind of like heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching thing was going to be. I'm not going to ruin it, but like, Jesus. And then the least favourite of the books, but I still enjoyed it, was A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. It felt a little bit YA in the terms of the main character. She was slightly selfish, slightly annoying, slightly... she wasn't that likeable to me, to be honest. But the plot itself and the kind of murder scene and the kind of like case that was written into the book, absolutely adored it. I think if the same kind of like murder mystery was shrouded in like a nicer character that I was slightly more like invested in, I would have absolutely adored this. But I think because the main character for me just absolutely wound me up, I wasn't obsessed. But it was a good plotline and I could not work out who did it, and I liked the twist at the end. So, and then the book that I'm currently reading, and I'm on page 68, so I haven't made it too far, is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. I mean, so far so good. I feel like this is not as much of a slow burn as some of the other books I've read. Like, I'm pretty invested already, I have to say. It got like right into it. I'm just gonna read this like normally throughout the week. I'm not gonna like either vlog it or time it or anything. So yeah, those are the books, or they are, sorry, the books that I read over the last sort of 7 days. It is now Monday, it's the start of a new week, so I'm going to end this video here. I think it's going to be a very long one, so I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you did, give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!